Welcome to the doghouse. I hope you're having a great day. I know I am as usual. This is going to be about using Christianity in a false and negative way and showing who you truly are. And I'm not saying this to offend anybody. As far as I don't care if you're a Christian, I don't care if you believe in Christianity, I don't even care if you don't believe in God. That is your choice. But when you go out there and you're using Christianity to further your pocketbook and views and other things in life, and you're only using that to do that, your true heart is not in Christianity, it's in greed. Good example like that. If you know somebody goes out and preaches the gospel and does this, and he's standing up for all what's wrong in life, and he doesn't judge anybody and all that, and the next day he turns around and does complete opposite, there's a good chance he's using Christianity for monetary gains. And they're all over. I mean, it's not just one person. There is a person that I talk about now and again that's that way, but when you use Christianity for monetary and personal gain, you're not even believing Christianity. You're believing in a way to get money, not God. When you put yourself on the same level as God, the excuse, well, you're taking in the money, you're mocking him. There is no other way about it. And if you don't believe in Christ, guess what? You still are mocking others by saying you do. Just be honest with yourself. You either do or you don't. And that's the way we should do things. You shouldn't justify your belief just for the money aspect of doing it. Yeah, churches do that too. Yes, I'm not the greatest Christian in the world, but I have a lot of the beliefs, and I am a Christian. I just don't do what I should be doing. But I admit that a lot of things I do are in the wrong and have been in the wrong. And an example of that would be, for me personally, is saying bad things about somebody and turning around and saying good or vice versa. That'd be wrong. I do that, or I have done that. Don't make it right. Now I'm going to give you some examples on false Christianity. If you go out there, like I said before, and I'm going to use an example of somebody I do know because I've worked with this person. He would go to church and preach, and he wasn't a preacher, but he'd preach it and show his religious beliefs, and that day he would live them. That day he was that person. But the day after, on a work day, he would try to pull the wool over everybody's eyes and do the opposite that a Christian would do. True story. And I'm sure you know people like that. When you take Christianity and you're out there saying, if you give me this and you give me that, I can really help you out here. You have no business of saying you're a Christian. You're a false Christian. If you go out and preach, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. If you follow God's word, you will prosper. The saying is true, but are you doing it? And a lot of times, some of these people out there saying it is not doing it. And there's a difference between words and doing it. A lot of people use words, but they have no actions with what they are doing. You cannot go out there and criticize people, put them down, and make fun of them. And you turn around and you say, I'm a Christian. God did this, so I can do this. No. One, you're being a false Christian, and two, God had his reasons for doing it. If you believe in God, the reasons was pretty simple to him what was going on. He did not give you the right to do what he does. You're not God. I'm not God. Nobody but one God if you believe in God. But when you're out there being a false Christian, you hurt everybody, even them that don't believe. Because what happens, though, some of these people that don't believe, and I have friends that this way, and it's all well and fine. I don't judge somebody like that. But it's all well and fine that you go out and say that and they see you do different. They are getting the impression that all Christians are bad and liars because of your actions. I realize people don't care about that person or persons, really. And I'm talking not about one person here, okay? And it really is not about one person because I've seen it in my lifetime. I just want to get that out so people don't think I'm pointing at one person. But when you start there and use Christianity for personal gain, which if you're doing it for the purpose of spiritual gain, that's good. If you're using that for the purpose of monetary gains and you're willing to lie to get them monetary gains and you're using Christianity to do it, you're a false Christian. You're only doing it because it's putting money in your pocket, or sometimes it's fame, or you can get a bunch of people to follow you like Jim Jones did. That's a pat on that person's back. He's not a real Christian when they do that, or she's not a real Christian when they do that. Like I said, I've worked with people like that. I I see it all the time. People saying they're this good religious person, and they're willing to stab everybody in the back. And I don't mean literally, by the way, to get what they want. They don't care if they're following what God has said is right. And these people that are out there doing that, falsifying what Christ or Christianity is, the atheists, the people that agnostic, have more religious views than these people do. You do not have to have a religious view to be religious. It might sound kind of funny, but I know people that are very, very much more religious, more reverent, that don't believe in God or have questions of whether He exists or not. Yeah, that shows you that person, these people out there saying how good a Christian they are and turn around and do things behind your back. That's wrong, obviously. Uh, Here's a situation. These guys come in, they make fun of a family, that they do everything possible, and at the end, this is one person that does this. And I've seen others too, don't get me wrong, but I'm pointing this at one person. How great they are after they get through demeaning people and putting them down, and then they say how Christian they are. That in itself is a lie. It's a flat out lie when you do that. It's out in the open what you're doing. You're not a Christian when you do that. You're just not. When you start doing crap like that, and it is crap, You are worse than pond scum. You go out there and harass people, and I see around here too, harass people, put them down, and make fun of them, and say how bad of people these people are. Then you go in church or wherever it is, and you say how we should not judge anybody, and you're exactly doing that. Now, when you read it says, "Judge not, so you shall also be judged," read the whole chapter. It's not quite like it's just scriptures are. Read the whole chapter. But the idea is going out telling people you can't judge, you shouldn't judge. While you're out there doing this, that's a sign you're really not a Christian. You're evil, but not a Christian. We come across people like this in our lives, on our daily lives. But you know what? Interesting though, most people, whether they're religious or not really not that religious or not, believing God or not, they see the phoniness in that person that is lying about being a Christian. Now, there's only one type of Christian. You don't get to choose my idea of a Christian. A Christian is a Christian. If you have a variance of Christianity, that means you're following yourself, not who you're supposed to be, if you believe in God. When you go out here and do evil things by actions, not words, people see that. They can see you're not really a Christian. You will say you are, but your actions and your reactions to people will say different. Now, if there is a God, you go to heaven or wherever you go, and God is sitting there, and you're going to explain to him why you're right and he is wrong. That's exactly what you're thinking you can do. Well, it comes down to partly if you're a narcissist. But it doesn't work that way. He will not listen only to his word. I'm not trying to be religious here, but this is just what's out there. If you're not don't want to be a Christian, don't go out there and say I'm a Christian just so you can line your pockets. God, and another thing, and I've heard this from several people. Well, I know I'm doing wrong, but God will forgive me for what I'm doing because He has given people. That's what part of life is. Well, that's only half right, which means it's wrong. Is because if you keep doing the same thing over and over, and you growing in your pastor, your preacher, or whoever you go to, and say, "God forgive me," or tell your pastor or whatever it is, "I need forgiven for my sins I have done." You turn around and go back out and do it again with the idea I get a free pass because I'm admit what I'm doing is not right and evil. Then the next day you go out and do the same thing again. Guess what? That's using Christianity to further your evil beliefs. God's not going to keep forgiving you for things. I mean, He's there and will forgive you. But if you're not making an effort and you're just saying that for a free pass, it won't work. There is no free pass when it comes to Christianity. It's either or. And yes, there is not one person close on this earth that is not evil and do bad things. Every one of us do. Every one of us will be held accountable for what we do. But most of us don't go out and lie about who we are. Just get views and people to follow you, and You don't have, at work, you don't have people, well, they do, but at work, you're a boss and you're going to say all this stuff when you're not at work, but you're going to have people follow you at work because you're a great guy, even though you lied about what you were doing and you're not a true Christian. That happens. Just take a look around how many people do that. In life itself, I'm not justifying right or wrong, but it's there. It is out there what people do like that, things like that. Now, maybe one day we'll find out the truth about things. That's a different story altogether. But Christianity, if you're using it for personal gain, how are you affecting everybody around you? It's, you may be trying to make it positive, but they see through it. They will see through you for being a false Christian. Yes, a false Christian. A false Christian is one that'll go out there and try to demean, drag down, and destroy people and their families for their own gain. That's not a Christian. That's barely a human being. So we got to watch what we think Christianity is and is not. We all have our opinions one way or other on it. But when you're falsely going out there and saying you're a Christian, you're actually hurting others that may want to. They will see what you are doing, and it's not justified in their minds what you're doing. So they're saying, I don't want to be a Christian. Look at this guy, he's nuts. Or look at that lady, she's nuts. Has nothing to do with Christianity. It has everything to do with filling their own pockets. Yeah, you get, and let's face it, people, it does give you probably a really, really good ego in your heart. You're going out there and showing the world how Christian you are. You're proving it every day. Listen to my words. But when you go out, you're not doing that. You're doing total opposite. That means you're a false Christian. I don't care if a person's gone to college or out on the streets. It doesn't matter. If you say it and you don't mean it and you do things to contradict it, you're not a real Christian. I don't care how much education you got or lack of education. It has nothing to do with anything once it comes to Christianity. If you want to go out there and be a false Christian, some say false prophet, but I have my own little idea on that. A false prophet isn't necessarily somebody that's going out and falsifying he's a real Christian or she's a real Christian. It just don't work that way. But if we're going follow Christianity, you have to do it by actions, not just words. Anybody can go out there and spew out words, but you have to be willing to take the action needed to go forward. Yeah, the words are a lot more simple than the actions, but the words sometimes don't mean a whole lot because your actions are contradicting your words. By saying you're a Christian doesn't mean God's going to save you. If you're still doing wrong, you're going to have to answer for that. If you're one that out there saying, well, I'll be forgiven if I do this, you know it's wrong to start with, and it's intentional, and you keep repeating it and repeating it and repeating it and not improving yourself. And sometimes it is really, really hard. Don't get me wrong. But God will see your intent. And if your intent is to go out and say, well, do this, I'll be forgiven for it, that's a false intent, and that's thinking you're a Christian when you're really not. Remember, it's up to you whether you want to believe in Christianity or not. And you have every right. Nobody has a right to tell you any difference. But if you're going to be a Christian, don't go out there and say things that you know are not Christian like. And you're going out there and doing things you know are not Christian like. And your actions are not going to show what's like Christian like. Don't use Christianity as a crutch. Just go out there and don't even say anything about Christianity. If you're not willing to live it, just walk away from it. That is your choice. Don't lie to people about how good a Christian you are if you are not. Shame on you if you are.